Welcome to College Algebra. This is Sister Rebecca. We're still on Unit 4, Expressions, Equations, and Functions. And today we're going to solve multi-step and advanced equations. So we're kicking it up a notch. This isn't your regular Algebra 2 class. We are in College Algebra. So as you can see, we are going to follow the same steps as we normally do for solving an equation by simplifying each side, combining like terms. Perhaps you need to use the distributive property. Then we're going to undo operations by moving variables to one side, then undo operations moving constants to the other side, and isolate the variable. Sometimes, though, we can get kind of creative when we see that certain things are divisible by all the same number, or we can multiply by the same number in order to get rid of denominators. So we're going to incorporate some of those tricks in solving for these equations. In number 1, we're going to solve this straight up by distributing the 6 first to the x and the 5. So I have 6x plus 30 minus 16 is equal to 2. 30 minus 16 is 14. So I have 6x plus 14 is equal to 2. Then subtract 14 from both sides, and I get 6x is equal to negative 12. Divide by 6, x is equal to negative 2. All right, for number 2, I want you to pause the video and try this. We're going to do the exact same thing. The only difference is the terms that you need to combine will be variable terms. So take a moment to pause and try that one. Okay, you should have gotten for number 2 that x is equal to 8. For number 13, we're going to try a little trick. So I want to go ahead and get rid of that 16 from the denominator, because when I distribute the 15 or the negative 15 to each of these terms, I can see right away that 5 goes into 15 3 times and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So there's a creative way of solving this problem that will get rid of all of my fractions in one fell swoop. But first, I would like to get rid of this 16. Now, actually, I can also see, now that I'm thinking about it, that 4 goes into 16 evenly and 16 goes into 32 evenly. That wouldn't get rid of my fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I had originally set out to do. I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by negative 16 right up front. So I get negative 16 times negative 16 is a positive 256. And then I'm left with, because now this negative 16 and this negative 16 cancels, I'm left with 15 times 4/5 x plus 32 over 3. Now I'm going to distribute the 15, excuse me, this should say 256. Apologize. So 256 is equal to 15 times 4/5 x plus 15 times 32 thirds. Well, I can see right here that my 5 will cancel and this will become a 3 because 5 goes into 15 3 times. My 3 will cancel and this will become a 5 because 3 goes into 15 5 times. So now I'm fractionless. 3 times 4 is 12, so I'm left with 12x in this term. 32 times 5 is 160. Now I have a pretty simple setup. I'm going to subtract 160 from both sides. 266 minus 160 is this should be 256. 256 minus 160 is 96, is equal to 12x. Divide both sides by 12, and I get x is equal to 8. Now, as we look at number 4, I have gone ahead and distributed the 1/2 and the 1/3 to each term. So my next line of math is 1/2 x plus 5/2 minus 4 is equal to 2/3 x minus 1/3. What I'm going to do is take the entire equation and multiply both sides by the least common multiple of 2 and 3, namely 6. So I'm going to multiply this side by 6, and I'm going to multiply this side by 6. What that's going to do is, in the distributive action, it's going to get rid of my 2's in the denominator on the left and my 3's in the denominator on the right. So half of 6 is 3, so this is 3x. Okay, then 2 goes into 6, 3. 3 times 5 is 15. 6 times 4 is negative 24. Now I'm going to multiply these two terms by 6. 3 goes into 6 twice. Now I'm going to distribute the 2 since both of these were 3. So 2 times 2x is 4x minus 2. Now I have a nice, easy line of math. I can simply combine like terms on the left. So 15 minus 24 is negative 9. So I have 3x minus 9 is equal to 4x minus 2. Okay, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides rather than 4x because I like my x's to be positive. And now I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get x is equal to negative 7. So you can look at an equation and see, what can I do that's creative, figure out how to solve this. For number 5, I have 1 over x is being multiplied on the left, and then I have an x on the right. I can do one of two things. If I distribute the 1 over x to each of these terms, which I actually don't need to do because I can combine like terms right up front. So this is actually 1 over x times 4x is equal to x. Or I can multiply both sides by x. But since I can see right up front that 1 over x will cancel with this x, then I simply get that x is equal to 4. For number 6, again, there's a couple of ways we could do this. I could come up with a common denominator for number 2, or for the 2, or I can go ahead and subtract this entire term on the left. Let's go ahead and do that. So then I'm left with 2 is equal to 3 over x minus 1 minus 3x over x minus 1. Now, these have a common denominator, so I can subtract those with the common denominator, 3 minus 3x all over x minus 1. Now I can multiply both sides by x minus 1. Then the x minus 1's cancel. Then over here, I'm left with 2x minus 2 is equal to 3 minus 3x. When I subtract, let's add the 3x to both sides, so then I have 5x. Add 2 to both sides is equal to 5, and I'm left with x is equal to 1. All right, I want you to take a moment then to solve number 7. you're going to want to start off by, after you pause the video, go ahead and multiply both sides by x plus 5, and then go from there. All right? Now pause the video and try it. Okay, in our unpausing, you should have gotten that x is equal to 3. We're going to do a similar thing for number 8. So I'm going to take 2x plus 3 all over x minus 1 is equal to 10, and I'm going to multiply both sides by x minus 1, which will cancel the entire denominator here on the left. So I have 2x plus 3 is equal to 10x minus 10. Now I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2x, and I have 3 is equal to 8x minus 10. Add 10. I have 8x is equal to 13, and when I divide by 8, I'm left with 13 over 8 as my final answer.